Thanks for tuning in to the Big Money Investor Show with Jim Ingersoll, where we talk about the best strategies for you to create cash flow and long-term wealth. Investing like the very top investors. Visit us online at www.bigmoneyinvestor.com and enjoy today's show.
Welcome to the Investor Success Podcast. I am Jim Ingersoll, and I'm excited to be with you today. This show was created exclusively for investors seeking lasting cash flow, more net worth, and success investing in real estate the right way. My name is Jim Ingersoll, and I am your host for this podcast today. I am the founder of the Investor Success Mastermind, where I get the pleasure of helping investors and real estate entrepreneurs find their path to higher levels of income and more net worth. You can learn more about what we do in this community at www.investorsuccessmastermind.com. I created this podcast to motivate and inspire you to go out and achieve more and find new levels of success. You're going to get some really great action items you can take action on immediately tonight, because my very special guest is going to do that. So let's get this party started right away. Let me tell you a little bit about Al Williamson, and then we're going to jump right into this incredible show today. Al and I have known each other for a few years. We've spoken on the same stage as some Jeffrey Taylor, Mr. Landlord events. And the thing I know about Al is he's an absolute landlord authority. He's from Sacramento, California. Like myself, he's an engineer, but I'm not going to hold that against him today. As an engineer, Al has had to study a whole lot of math and science, just like I have. But what's cool about what Al has done is he's transformed that math and science into becoming a bit of a landlord scientist, where he gets to go into a landlording lab and experiment with all kinds of cool little neat ideas and pull them and integrate them into all kinds of cool things that are happening in technology today, such as the Internet of Things and stuff like that. And then he mixes up all these experiments with his math and science formulas and measures the outcomes. And he likes to share those results with people. Believe me, Al is super passionate about providing affordable housing and really creating what he likes to call the landlord revolution. This is where the landlords get to go out and he gets to drive change to dramatically increase their cash flow. Because really the old model of just crossing your fingers, throwing some pixie dust into the air and hoping that you cover your mortgage is really gone. And there's too many landlords out there that I know that are banking on appreciation right now, and they don't mind a little bit of negative cash flow, or if they get $100 or $125 a month, they feel like they've entered the promised land. But that just isn't true. It isn't enough to keep you afloat. Al, like myself, is also an author and a speaker. You can find his really awesome book, 40 Ways to Increase Your Net Income of Your Rental Property, on Amazon or on his website. He also created a really awesome training course that we're going to talk about tonight, all about Airbnb rentals, and you're going to want to get your hands on that as well. Al, welcome to the Investor Success Podcast. It's good to have you on tonight, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, thank you. Good. I'm honored to be here.
Did I forget anything on your intro that you want to add?
No, you're my Don King now. You're hired.
I thought you liked the little part about being the scientist in the lab and, pulling that engineering stuff in, because you're a civil engineer, right?
Right. Not electrical,
and
civil, so.
Yeah, you remember I'm electrical, but so you've done things like highways and bridges and structural things, right?
That's it. In fact, I'm in a trailer right now for my construction trailer right now, where my kids can't disturb me.
And what are you guys building?
We're building a bridge for a railroad. So trains go over this bridge here.
And when you're building a bridge, there's a lot of load. And I've always been told you gotta do it so that if everybody on the bridge hits the brakes at the same time, everything stays together. Is that sort of the idea?
That's right, and earthquakes as well. That's right.
Oh yeah, oh boy, I forgot about that in Northern California where you're at. Well, it's really nice to have you along. Your book, 40 Ways to Increase the Net Income of Your Rental Property, is a great book. I mean, I've had my copy for a while now. And I remember first reading it while I was on a flight, and it's so many great tips in here that I'm not sure exactly where to start, but I want to talk about some tips in here and then go into the Airbnb stuff, which is amazing content. Let's start off with this transportation hub. I mean, what is it? Why should we be interested, and how does that work?
Well, it's the mindset that your tenants or your clients kind of start their and end their day from your rental property. So it is really a transportation hub. Is where they're going. So I kind of broke it down into two different categories, like one being vehicles and the other one just being straight parking, because there's lots of ways to monetize just parking. So and there's ways of thinking this type about parking, like you could think of are you familiar with Zipcar, Jim?
No, go ahead. You've always got the latest stuff. Okay.
Well, it's a way of renting the car on demand. You can just like you can take you belong to the service, so people share a particular car, and for a monthly fee. So it's very popular in bigger cities. It's a car rental, and they place these cars in people's parking lots, for your apartment building or in your duplex or wherever,
or an office building.
The demand is right. So all those exactly. In fact, businesses use Zipcars instead of having their own fleet. So it's a savings for them. Yeah. So just parking. I mean, people. My friend in Washington gets $250 a month just allowing Zipcar to park in this parking spot, one parking spot. So it's pretty. So
they planted Zipcar there for $250, and then they rent the car from there. Basically, it's like a car rental, but it's more on demand, so you don't have to make a reservation and stuff.
Right, but they embed themselves into the community. So that's the difference.
I like that idea.
Yeah, so that's
all right.
A lot of people have space
so
for
that. Zipcar, I like that idea. There's a whole new wave and trend coming with bicycles as well, right? How does that work?
Right. A lot of cities are getting onto the bike sharing program, where they have like these little lockers for bikes. You see them in San Francisco and Chattanooga. I'm not saying that right, but I've been seeing it even when I was in Indianapolis. I saw some bike sharing portals. Those were cities, but you can do those for your multifamily as well, but without all the complexity of having a locker. For example, I have a community bike at my 8-unit apartment building, where if people aren't renting a bike from me already, they can just borrow one. So I kind of that one is kind of a I use that community bike to get people hooked onto the bikes that I end up renting and maintaining for them. So,
well, how do you rent bicycles to your tenants? That's an interesting concept, and it's a nice little revenue generator.
It is. So there's two things. I specialize in the ones I rent them to are typically people from out of town who are only going to be in town for a year or at the most. So I rent bikes to them so they get around to their place of work, which is the local hospital just a mile away. So I throw in a helmet and a contract. My contract says that they're borrowing the bike. It's complimentary service, but it's included in I add about $40 a month to their rental rate.
$40 is a lot of money to rent a bike. So these are medical students. I guess that works really well. I mean, that's an instant generator of income. Right.
So these bikes pay for themselves in about 2.5 months, and they pay for themselves many times over. So it's been good.
That's real good. So Transportation Hub is mostly about Zipcar and Cars on Demand and bike sharing. Is there anything else in that area
Bike
of transportation that you've thought of and trying?
Well, I'm trying. It's kind of coupled with my Airbnb and with people coming in. People often, when they're traveling, they rent cars as well as needing housing. So that's my stretch goal, is to actually rent a car along with the rooms that I'm renting as well to people who are on 1 month services.
Have you ever thought about providing transportation back and forth from, say, the airport?
No, we have Uber and for that. Uber and Lyft do those.
They're pretty good at it, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I can't compete with that thing. Plus, it takes a lot of time.
It does.
I don't want to get wrapped up into the time portion of it.
Yep. Good point. Okay. Well, one of the things that a lot of landlords do is they just leave dough on the table that they don't think of along the lines of fees. And, a lot of landlords don't even like to apply a late fee. But there's so many other fees you can be applying besides a late fee. What are some of the ideas that you've been able to do as far as fees to generate more rental income?
Well, the fee that I'm using the most now is associated with Jeffrey Taylor's idea of the payday rent, where you're breaking your rent up into half the rent associated. Someone's paid twice a month, and they pay half the rent every 2 weeks, and there's an administrative fee attached to that. So that's the one I'm using, but people use fees for all kinds of things. Pet fees.
So before we go on, so you and I know Jeffrey really well. He's a friend of ours. But for everybody else, tell them how this payday rental schedule works and how much extra rental income you can get by collecting money every 2 weeks instead of once a month. Especially, and how much is your admin fee that you can gain? Okay.
Well, some people have I use a $5 admin fee because it's really not the. I don't want people to look at
the fee
and decide. Yeah, I don't gouge them. Plus, the real winner is getting them to go pay every 2 weeks, and it's kind of it takes a while to take the look at this to understand this, but there's 56 weeks in a year.
52 weeks.
52 weeks. So much for my
and
math.
26. Yeah, but if you do one every 2 weeks, it's 26 paydays.
Right, 26 paydays versus the 24. If that's equivalent to every 2 weeks, or twice a month would be equivalent to 24 payments instead of the 26 payments.
So you sort of get like an extra half month rent, right?
Well, you really get an extra month's rent. You get 2 extra payments. So that's the win. That's the win.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So on $1,000 a month, instead of collecting $12,000 over a year, you're collecting $13,000. That's a huge upswing in income, isn't it?
It is, but people like it because it's not such a big stretch for them each at the end of the month. Once a month is a big stretch for some people, especially the people paid on hourly basis.
And so it's a benefit to them, and it's a win-win because it's a benefit to the landlord and it's a big benefit to the tenant. And the tenants, they don't even realize they're paying an extra month rent, right? In most cases, they don't care.
In most cases,
and they don't care.
They don't care. They don't care, just like we don't care about the interest associated with our mortgage. If the benefit, we know we're paying a lot of interest, but the wind is so great that it makes it worthwhile for us.
Sure. So that's a big one. What was the next one you were thinking of?
Well, there's always pet. There's a lot of things associated with pets and pet fees and by weight and pet administration fees to go interview your pet. And there's a whole bunch of fees associated with pets, and people are happy to pay them.
People love their pets, and so if you're willing to be pet friendly, I'm a pet friendly landlord. By pet friendly, I mean you're going to pay a little extra. So what is a fee that's fair that you feel for pets? How do you like to work them?
Oh, I think they should start at $50 and then go up from there.
Per month?
I've seen much more per month. Yes, per month. I have one service dog at my apartment, but and that works out well. The thing about animals, if you're doing apartments versus homes, is that they start each other barking and things like that, and it just becomes uncontrollable. So got to be careful with that.
That's a good point. In a single-family house, it's a little easier. So instead of charging like a larger pet deposit, you like to say, give me an extra $600 a year. $50 a month.
That's right. Well, a pet fee is you don't have to give that back, right? You don't have to give that pet fee back. You have to keep that. So, and there's some really good enzyme products now that takes care of the smells. So I have no problem with it anymore.
Yeah,
you can get rid of the dog smell easy.
You can. I mean, I've had some really bad smelling houses, and just had a house that was in a fire too, Al, and there's a lot of odor from that. But there's ionizers and different kinds of things you can do. Yeah. How about laundry? Do you like to provide washers and dryers, or do you rent them, or do you have a common area for them, or all of the above? How do you like to do laundry?
Well, now, see, I collect ideas. I can tell you what I do, and I can tell you what a whole bunch of folks do.
Yeah.
What I do is I just, for my apartment building, which is my experimental building, I just went to a card reader so that I could take credit cards with my laundry machine, so people use them more often, which increases my revenue, of course, and it works out really nicely. Other people, there's two different ways I hear from different landlords. One is that they'll allow their tenants to kind of rent to own laundry machines, and which is very popular and works out for folks. Or they'll do an upgrade to say you can have this machine, or you can have this, they have some really nice machines these days. Those extra large or all-in-one, washer and dryer all-in-one machine. So you can go real fancy. It depends on what a person wants. But of course, there's always a little service fee for the landlord, so it works out.
Where do you get a card reader if you want to retrofit something? Where did you find a good place to get one?
I lease mine from CoinMac. I do a profit share with a company already does that. So I just stayed on them until they got that for me. Right. They just deposited it into my account.
Well, you're a smart engineer on all these things. You just like to collect money, don't you? You're like the Federal Reserve.
I do. I do.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's making my clients happier. It makes them happy to not have to go too far and to have a card reader and all the conveniences. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, also,
well,
there's one service fee I wanted to tell you about.
Yeah.
I have an all-inclusive option. So there's an admin fee for me handling all the utilities and for them as well as their rent. So that's another admin fee. If someone wants to just pay one payment and not have to deal with the electric bill and the cable bill and all those types of things, they have to pay an admin fee for that.
So how does that work? I mean, do you ever have problems with them being able to make that payment? So it's all their utilities plus internet and cable, right?
Right. Now I give them the internet. Well, that's included in my rent, of course.
Yeah.
It's a wireless signal, so
Right.
So it doesn't really it's no it's not consumed like that. But no, I haven't. The people that I'm able to attract now, of course, I haven't always had this quality of a tenant client, but the ones I have now are able to pay, and they're good, reliable people.
So do you collect each of these bills once a month and then just increase their account by that amount and just send them an invoice type thing?
No, I just it just works. It just evens out. I pretty much know how much it costs to operate my units now.
Gotcha.
And I just pad that on and set the online bill pay and let it go. And it's been working out really well.
Okay. Very good. How about laundry and housekeeping type things? Have you looked into those services?
No, I have a cleaner who I have one. I have a couple of units, but I have one particular unit that I rent directly to the hospital that's near me, and for them, my cleaner charges me like $95 to when they have a turnover once a month.
Yeah.
And I'm able to turn around and bill at $150. So that makes it really nice little step
50%
there.
50% margin's kind of nice.
It really is. It really, really is. So
I think Kevin O'Leary on the Shark Tank would like that model. That's good margin.
So what I found is when we start moving towards this all-inclusive type of housing, with furnishings and all utilities, people will pay for that convenience of not having to worry about the housing component. They have typically there are people who are busy with other things and don't want to drill down that. They just want it all taken care of.
If people want to get more information on you and take a look at your really awesome blog and stuff like that, what's the best website for them to do that at? Is it Leading Landlord?
Yeah, so leadinglandlord.com. It has all these expense reduction and net income increasing ideas that I've been
you've
collecting
got articles
for the last
and
5
others.
years.
Yeah. Okay. And that's www.leadinglandlord.com. It's a great domain name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's getting harder and harder to get 2-word domains, and you found a really good one. So, yeah, go to leadinglandlord.com and check out Al's website and sign up for his newsletter. I'm a subscriber, and it's a great idea for you to do that. I want to turn the corner a little bit into something you've been working on over the last couple of years, which is Airbnb. You've gotten really, really great at it. And a lot of people are interested, but they don't know how to navigate city ordinances and how to do the marketing right and manage the unit and make sure they get paid and stuff. And you've really become great at Airbnb. So I know you've got a lot of insight and training available. Tell us a little bit about the Airbnb world, maybe how you slipped into it, and then how you refined your systems and some information on it.
Well, I was, part of my engineering was doing some construction at Alcatraz in San Francisco, and I was there for a year and a half. I was in charge of the project putting these solar panels on top of the famous prison. Right now, it's a national park right now. So during that time, we thought the project was going to end, and I gave my 30-day notice to my landlord, who I was renting from out there, and then the project got extended. So I found myself in need of some housing. So that's when I started with Airbnb. That's back in 2011. And I was, of course, that's when I started my blog. So I was analyzing it and looking at it, all the pros and cons, and if it would work for a traditional landlord, someone who's had a home or a multifamily. And at the time, I wasn't really for it because it was, a landlord typically doesn't want to share a room with their tenant and provide all that level of service. That was the drawback. But now, as things have changed and as the the industry has changed. Is more friendly to business travelers and to specifically versus the tourists. It started off just for tourists, people coming in for a convention, and now it's kind of matured for business travelers who are just looking for a hotel alternative. They're sick of hotels because they're always living in hotels. They want something without a maid coming in, a place that they can cook. Yeah, something a little more homey. So that's where it is right now. The industry's Airbnb and other platforms like that are more friendly to business travelers as far as partnering with American Express and for points and different things like that. More relationships for those travel points are now possible. And there's a possibility that the Hilton or Marriott may extend their brands on so that they can compete as far as giving you can be part of their brand if you can meet that level of service. So the industry is really, really changing.
Boy, is it ever. It's hard to keep up with it all. It's amazing. So this allows somebody who's got residential housing to compete against the hotels, basically. How can you figure out if your city will allow it? Because there's a lot of cities starting to push back on Airbnb, temporary housing, and they want you to be set up as a business if you're going to do it and things. How is that? How can you figure out, like, just the average landlord who's listening to us from Indianapolis or wherever else, whether they can really do this?
There's two things I would do. One, found a great resource. It's called roomscore.org, and that's kind of they kind of grade across the country. It's an interactive map to kind of show if your city is friendly to short stay housing, and also the people like the people I would consider my students or the people that work with me. I always encourage them before they even buy my materials to give their city a call. Call City Hall to see what their stance is. If they can refer you to their city codes, that'll really let you know if you should make the investment or not, depending on how the codes are. But it's maturing now. There's a lot of best practices. The best practice right now is that if that landlords pay their taxes, they pay lodging taxes the same as a hotel would. So,
they want you to be able to collect sales tax and things too. Right.
So, that kind of levels the playing field on that point, but people there's still a huge demand for not having a maid come in your privacy and being able to cook in the kitchen and all at the same price that you would get for a regular cookie cutter hotel. So there's a huge demand for Airbnb or these other short-term housing platforms. It's just increasing geometrically. No end in sight there.
So where would you call at City Hall if somebody's listening to us in Raleigh, North Carolina, or Charlotte, or wherever? What department would they ask for, do you think, if they're going to figure out whether they can do it where they live?
Their business department, whoever sells their business license, would be the first person. They could talk to you about what permits that you would need to set up, because you need that to collect. If there's a lodging tax associated with it, that revenue department is gonna know about it. And I think if your city already has an ordinance in place, then you're really safe, because they're most likely not going to go back and revisit that. It won't be shifting sand under your feet. But I'm a huge proponent of month to month using these platforms to find a monthly renter or one that's close to a month long, and then you bypass all this permitting stuff and you work as regular landlord rules.
I mean, that's a huge tip, I think, because, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, do I really want to get into short-term rental? And, I mean, I would love to because you get so much more in rent, but, man, if I have to start charging sales tax and I've got, all this other stuff, I got regulation. I'm an anti-regulatory guy to begin with. Is that really something I want to do? So you're able to use Airbnb to find people that are willing to stay at least 30 days, and then it doesn't matter what your room score is, right?
That's right. It doesn't matter. And see, I'm doing this working in conjunction with the permitting department of my city, to make sure that they know what I'm doing and I'm following all the laws. But it's outside of, as soon as when there's being in construction, Jim, you know that I know how to find a loophole pretty well, because contractors are always finding loopholes.
Uh-huh.
So I read my city ordinances and other people's city ordinances, and there's always how you can maneuver so that's optimized for you. But I think the most optimal thing for a landlord moving into the space is to go for what I call long shorts, these 30 days and more. There's less cleaning cost and less headaches. It's not a lot of headaches, but it's less.
So how much
things you
less
have to think about.
do you get doing 30-day? I mean, you discount it like 15-20%, or what would you typically think?
I'd say if you're going 30 days, it's always going to be a 20% or more. It's easy to get the beat your rent by 20% and more. Of course, you discount your prices for these longer stays.
Yeah.
As long as you're below what a hotel would be. Now, hotels can be charging taxes. They can't get away from taxes, even on a 30, 45-day stay. So you're always going to be extremely attractive to someone who has to stay for a while.
Well, let me give you an example. I told you I had a tenant who decided to start a fire in one of my houses. It wasn't quite like that. I'm just kidding. Everybody was okay because we had good working smoke alarms, by the way, and the house is being rebuilt.
Good.
But she just left the burner on and caught the kitchen on fire when she went to work. But anyways, she needed short-term stay, and I was trying to help her find a place to go, and so I was calling hotels to see, how much it costs per night for a week at a time. And I was surprised. I couldn't really find anything cheap. It was, it's still pretty expensive. And so that's somebody who needs short-term housing. And there is not very much of it available. Even at hotels, it's pretty darn expensive by the week. Right.
So that's it basically. I always
so let me give you an example. If you've got a three-bedroom, two-bath house, and you can normally rent that thing, say, for $1,200 a month. If you're going to try to go Airbnb minimum 30-day stay instead of $1,200 a month, how much do you think you'd be able to get? I know it varies everywhere you go, but just like ballparking it.
Well, so it varies on how the area that you're going to be, the neighborhood. The neighborhood's huge, and then the furnishings that are in there is huge.
Super important. The cleanliness is super important.
The cleanliness. And the location, proximity to the freeway, and all those things, it makes it hard for me to narrow it down. But what I found kind of universally is that you can the 20% and up is what you can consider going into. If that's acceptable for you to get involved.
So would you say if you can normally get $1,000 a month, if you're going to go minimum 30-day stay, you might get $1,200 to $1,500 a month?
Yes.
Even that's only $50 a night.
Yeah, I mean, and also depending now, if you package it as you're to be equivalent to 2 hotel room pricing, if you're pricing it for 2 people versus a family, it depends on how you're packaging it. If it's a family, they may need to get 2 hotel rooms if it's a larger family. And
so you might get $2,000.
Right.
And you need to because you got to cover
yeah.
your internet, your cable, your electric, and all that, right?
Right. It's all part of it, and you want to start paying yourself back to break even as soon as you can for your initial furnishings and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, let's talk about furnishings real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, you work your way up. The more reviews you have, the more
that's the key.
Room you have. Yeah, to move your rates up, and so it's about getting in and being professional for the long haul, because a lot of people dabble in it and quit and complain. And, you need to have a ramp up with your expenses, ramp up with your furnishings and your luxuries. As your reviews increase, so can your rates.
Big tip there, I think. I think that's a great tip. And making sure your guests are happy is really critical so you get those reviews. And because it is more of a hospitality business than a traditional landlording model. Right.
Now, when you go for those longer,
go ahead.
When you go for those longer shorts, it's easier. It's kind of the opposite.
Yes.
You're optimizing the hospitality industry and the landlord industry, so you're in that sweet spot. The best of both worlds. So it's going to be low cost of service, especially if you set yourself up correctly with a really thorough guest manual and that has all the questions. People really don't that want to come get away from the hotels. They really don't want to interact with you. So, unless they have to, unless you just not.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's the person you want.
All right, and that's great tips, I think, on the furnishings. And you got to have good quality pictures, and you got to have good copy in Airbnb. All that stuff does help, right?
Right. Absolutely. Pictures the most. We could talk about pictures for an hour. Pictures and staging, similar to selling a house. Same thing. You can't do it with a camera phone. Longer exposures and all those types of things need to be put into account.
They really do help. And you get good at furnishing houses, I guess, Al, as you go with knowing how to do it on a reasonable budget, but still make it look exclusive, right?
Right. And I always encourage people to, start simple and then work your way up. But also start with, start on security things first before you start buying a lot of pictures. Yeah. Make sure your locks are working. Make sure your mattresses are comfortable, and then dress them up. Oh, also, real critical tip is make sure you have bed bug liners. These anti-bed bug liners on box springs and mattresses. So that's a couple $100 investment that you really need to spend up front.
Where's a good place to get bed bug liners?
Oh, they sell them everywhere, especially online.
Amazon?
You can order them right.
You just go to Amazon?
Yeah, you can go right to Amazon and do that. And
I buy everything on Amazon.
Bath bed and beyond, all those types of Sears. Everyone has them these days. But
everybody has bed bugs? Just kidding.
That's the order. I want to see people spend their money taking care of the safety things first before they start decorating too much.
Good tips. Well, Al, you've created a whole training course on how to be a successful Airbnb landlord. Can you tell us a little bit about it and where people can get more information? Because it's a really unique offering that you've got for everybody.
I will. It has all the infrastructure that I use as far as templates for guest manuals so people can know what goes in there, and that's really critical. And also the whole concept of not acting like someone who's sharing their home. Most books and blogs are about for people who are sharing their homes and how to be a great Airbnb host that way, but not so much about as a landlord who has to make a profit. You know, you have to beat your baseline. You don't want to just make a little money. You need to make more money than a traditional landlord for you to be doing this. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it.
Otherwise, you get
all.
frustrated and give up, right?
Right. So you have to be super efficient, and that's what my coursework does. It helps you be super efficient so that you outperform a traditional landlord. And that's the standard.
What's your website for that?
For that, it's called Airbnb Landlord.com.
Great domain. Airbnb Landlord.com. How much is the training, Al?
It's $199 for digital copy and $230 for the digital and the hard copies that go with it.
Very good. I mean, it's very reasonable. I mean, if folks that are listening today are serious about jumping into this and increasing their rental income streams, I wouldn't do it without this training personally. That's how highly I recommend it. Ella, it seems like yesterday we were talking about building this course out, and here it is, a reality today. I love it.
Hey, thank you for the tip and pushing me to do it. Yeah.
I love it. Al, I really appreciate everything. Folks can get more information on Al at leadinglandlord.com, and make sure you go to airbnblandlord.com as well and check out that training program, because you're going to want to learn more about Airbnb if you're serious about going that direction with the rental. You could be sort of like Al and go to your lab and pick a property and give it a try, and then, you know, see if you like it or you don't. You can expand if you do, and you can go into vacation rentals. I've got good friends like Mary Hart and other people that I've become really good friends with that do fantastic in the vacation rental market. Airbnb sort of introduces you into that area as well.
Right,
so check airbnblandlord.com and see if it's for you or isn't. Al, I really appreciate everything you're doing. Do you have anything, closing remarks you want to leave with anybody today?
Yeah, can I give your listeners a gift?
That's a great idea.
Okay, I have an audio for them. It's called The Top 10 Ways for Landlords to Reduce Their Expenses. And I'll give you the link. Can you hook it up to your
yes, I can.
to your podcast? Okay,
sure
we'll
can.
do that for them.
Well, I can through my website. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll send it to. We'll put the link for you on your website so that they can get that. Top 10 ways.
Okay. Where do they get it?
Well, I was going to give you the link.
Okay. Okay. Are you going to give it to me now, or are you giving it to me after?
I'll give it to you after. We have to create a dedicated page for you.
Okay, I gotcha. All right, be looking for that link. It sounds fantastic. It's a great idea, certainly. Well, Al, I've had a great time talking about how people can go from break even to breaking the bank with a lot more money. And you spend a lot of time in your lab on your 8-unit, I know, and you've learned a lot, controlling your variables and measuring your output on your formulas, no doubt. So I really appreciate your being on with me today. Let me close this one out. Again, my name is Jim Ingersoll. I'm not just the host of this podcast episode. I'm also the founder of the Investor Success Mastermind, which is a really awesome community with folks from the East Coast to the West Coast. You can learn more about what we do in this community at the InvestorSuccessMastermind.com. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. My email is jim@investingnownetwork.com. And I've got a free gift for you today as well. Just hop over and pick up your investing kit, help you start learning to find some deals at bigmoneyinvestor.com. So I am Jim Ingersoll. Al, thanks so much for being my very special podcast guest today. And
hey, thanks you.
Thanks for starting a revolution among landlords to not accept negative cash flow or break-even cash flow. Get that cash flow right, and you can be in the landlording business a long time. Al, thanks again, and all my best to you over there on the West Coast.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to share this podcast with your friends and social media contacts, and visit us online at www.bigmoneyinvestor.com.